Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Thinking in Wesnoth. We are playing, we are not actually playing, we are analyzing a game that took place between Nan Roik, which is the red player, and another player which I don't know the name of. I don't know the result. It was a recommendation coming from For Peace. Props to For Peace for providing this. I have absolutely no idea what happened. So it would be live commentary, would be analyzing everything and trying to learn from their mistakes and try to perfect our strategies as a result. Now, I will be talking a bit about the map, but not that much because we've already cast on this. It's a relatively new map, tournament map. I believe it's called Ashy Island, and the villages are a bit widespread. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4 villages top, 1, 2, 3, 4 villages bottom, and at the same time we have 1, 2, 3 villages south, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 villages north. Now it does look a bit widespread, and it does look a bit difficult to for example, defend these villages. However, the map is relatively new. It's also susceptible to bat run by. So I feel if there was, let's say, a frozen cave here, something of this sort, to slow the bats down a bit, because this looks like, oh, this just looks the flying races. You can just have uh, can really shine here. So, for example, if we reduce the size of this water, I mean, put some frozen mountains, just some comments, and if you have comments, please guys, just make for example specific comments. I'm just saying tile 24.36 should be frozen cave. I'm making up terrain now. A frozen cave instead of deep water. Village placement for 1533 should actually be 1532. Move this village a bit up so it's actually next to the forest. It's easier to defend. Village 36.31 should actually be 36.30. But then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is a problem. Perhaps it should be there should be another type of terrain here that prevents basically it should be sand, so it prevents a quick scout from actually getting that village. These minor tweaks could make life easier a bit for the map designer, and you could say I don't know, maybe this village should be even a bit closer, so the fight is actually in this village should be a bit up, so the fight can be actually on a shorter swathe of land. However, please don't just say, look, the map is bad or something like this. Try to make constructive comments. I particularly enjoy classic maps, which are balanced, but at the same time, we do need to understand that every balanced Wesnoth map was at first unbalanced, right? So again, specific comments regarding terrain types and civil comments, of course, and everybody will be happy, and the map designer would be able to get that feedback and probably change the map, etc., etc. Okay, so we are having a loyalist player, which I can assure you he is absolutely enthralled by the fact that he's loyalist. He has the power of the cavalry. I'm not sure whether they're playing on ladder era or default. We will be finding out in a minute. However, even if it is ladder era, Cavs should have a good time, especially in this particular situation here, going back and forth, mounting the attack, retreating, mounting the attack. There is some terrain, so there is some balancing out of Cavs here. So we will see. I'm excited to see Cavs at work in this map, and I would say a fencer top would not be the best. Fencer through these muddy caves. That would be fine. Let's see what is our player's choice. So 2 calves and 2 spearmen. Therefore, he's saying, I am not going to put any pressure north. I'm going to be focusing on south, at least not for the time being. This is what this tells me. He's not going to push, try to scout, try to make some pressure like we have seen before on this map. The undead was trying to do with his bats and ghosts and ghouls. So a lot of calves. Let's see, what is the movement? Okay, so it's default era. Therefore, this is going to be absolutely sad for our blue player, no matter what he is, because calves have mobility, have resistance. Let's see the resistance for a second. So 40% impact, that is just absolutely ridiculous. 30% blade, that is incredibly strong, and pierce minus 20%. That's their only vulnerability, which, if you ask me, they should have 7 movement points. I was an advocate for a long time of calves having 7 movement points, and I'm really happy to see that this has been actually implemented in the ladder era. Have fun. I'm sure his opponent will not have fun. What the second player is, he is Elf. So this is going to be an interesting game simply because Elf does have a fighting chance versus calves, simply because archers are relatively efficient in killing cavalry, and at the same time, elvish fighters are not that bad fighting back. However, he will be stuck for a long time, I feel, being unable to counterattack. However, let's see what... Oh, I like this. He is actually going for a wows. So he is going to 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, eventually he will station the wows in this forest, and he would try to surprise a potential run by from the loyalist, right? And the scout is going to put some pressure. I really like this recruit because it's not that heavy. It's not that unit heavy. So he's preserving some gold. Obviously, he's banking some gold, and at the same time, he will recruit his units bottom. It would be a bit difficult to grab all these villages, I feel, but let us see. There it is, perfect village grabbing from loyalist, and he keeps recruiting calves. I am not sure whether this would be a quick game or not. All these calves, if our elf player doesn't manage to grab these villages quickly, he will be in a lot of trouble. Let's see. Okay, not sure I agree with this. I feel that he should have recruited. I'm not sure how much gold he has, but if he did have a gold for another unit, he should have recruited it. Probably not. So he has 2 scouts, 1 wows, which is relatively expensive. Probably he does not have gold for another unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do feel like he should have had gold for another unit. So it's really interesting play from our elf captain, and we shall see how this plays out. So again, standard village grabbing, and he does apply some pressure, and he's actually going strong. Never mind what I said in the beginning. He's actually going strong on the northern front. He's going to put pressure with 3 units. Don't particularly agree with that. I think a fencer north would have been a bit more interesting. However, pure power of calves. He just might, if he manages to squeeze through, a calf would be quite strong. Anyway, let's see our elvish player grabbing villages. Okay, he recruited 2 units. Therefore, I think I know what happened. So he was trying to, let me see here, point of view, Which team? Okay, that maybe is a bit better. Now, in terms of, I think that particular scout was quick, so he was able to get the village from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He was able to get the village, and therefore he said, there's no need to recruit anything extra because I can get this village far away and I can just have a look what my opponent is and then recruit accordingly, which is valid now if I think about it. Move on forward. Let's see. Okay. Spears and calves. And he will amass so many units. And this army will be incredibly difficult to deal with, simply because wherever there is a particular spot that cannot be covered, for example, he tries to make a front line, right? So his units are in a line and every man is defending the man next to him, right? So calves would be able to cover spots otherwise inaccessible. So a cav on 40%, it's excellent. A spearman on 40% is not that good as long as it's, but if the spearman is flanked from two calves and the spearman is resilient strong, he can even stay on 60%. But imagine here a spearman on this forest and then a cav here, another cav here, another. That would be a crazy line. And if you're thinking about attacking in that line, you would have to do it from grass, which gives elf 40%, and elves on 40% are absolutely destroyed. They have low hit points. They don't have the resistance of calves. So this is going to be incredibly difficult to deal with. I'm extremely curious to see how the defense of our elvish captain plays out. So let's see how he organizes his units. Okay, that's a good attack actually. So we only have 3 calves on the battlefield, and these calves can't really do much during nighttime. So I might as well put some damage in. They will not really push now. And if Red is smart, and I'm sure he's a very smart lad, he will retreat, heal up, wait for his core units to build up in numbers, and then he will come back during the day with some shiny calves. Now, not much is going to happen here. 1, 2, 3, 3 fighters, 2 scouts, and 1 archer. I would say this army can't really put too much pressure on this village. Just 1 or 2, 1 spearman, a few calves here, and the elves will have to run back. However, due to the high number of calves that Red recruited, he will have trouble now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he recruited an absolute disgusting amount of calves. So he will have trouble defending this village. And this particular fighter, elvish fighter, could get on this forest, even make an attack. This elvish scout could go around. This elvish scout the same. However, with lieutenant, which has 6 movement speed, and with these spears coming, I wouldn't do it. Even if this could be, at least in theory, it could be exploited a bit, I just wouldn't do it. Simply, this lieutenant is basically bringing light into the battle and buffing his units incredibly well. And spearmen are actually more resilient than fighters in a fight. So I would expect the spearman with lieutenant behind him to win versus a fighter. Anyway, in terms of what is going on north, he is a bit scared that there might be a scout going around, or I don't know what he's scared about because it's deep water. Nothing can come of it. Perhaps, something can come like that. Maybe he's scared of that. However, elves don't have many choices in terms of pillaging top, and if you see, it's actually deep water everywhere. So elves from this perspective are a bit at a disadvantage. So from this particular point of view, perhaps make 1 tile here forest or submerged forest or something of this sort, or even shallow water. At least give a chance to a sneaky scout to do something about it, though I wouldn't expect this to ever be used by a sane elf. Anyway, moving on. Basically, what is going on? What I think is going on, at least, red player is building his numbers. Our elf player is simulating an attack which he's never going to go ahead with, and this particular pressure in the north is going to be interesting to watch. So let me see. Okay, so a red player does not see the wows. However, this particular village is vulnerable. If the spearman goes into this village, it will take ages for our elf player to grab the village back. This particular village not that important, simply because the village can even be covered, right? So it doesn't really matter. However, this basically forces elf's hand to attack this particular spearman. Judging by the number of units and the leader placement, which our scout should be able to see in a minute, I would say that wows should know that there isn't much coming. There's already 2 units here and so many units south, and the leader is here recruiting. So probably I would go with the wows behind this spearman to cut off his retreat, and I would immediately transition into an attack top. I would even bring the scouts somewhere on the hills, or even on the village. Why not? It would be a bit risky, but considering it's second watch, I would say it's worth it. Or even not on the village, perhaps on the mushrooms, right? I would bring it on the mushrooms. Why? To block the spearmen from getting on the village, and at the same time gain 10% more defense. So I would basically try to get anything I can as elf. Take advantage of the element of surprise with this wows, get 1 unit, build up my numbers, and basically fight back red another day or another night in this case. But let's see what our opponent chose. Yeah, there he is. He chose to okay, that is really interesting, because he said, I am going to pillage with this scout. From my experience, you have the scout back against deep water. So from this perspective, perhaps it would be, instead of deep water, it would be to have shallow water here, right? So at least the scout could go back, right? So because now what can happen is this cavalryman can place itself here. So I'll put here on 23.34, and basically this Elvish scout would be blocked, right? So it would have absolutely no way of retreating. It's just this deep water is cause it's basically giving a lot of advantage to races with flying units. That's my only comment on this. So make this shallow, or a bit shallow around the edges. It just makes a lot of sense. Anyway, I don't agree with this move south, but time will tell. However, I do agree with this particular, although it's a bit too aggressive if you ask me, because now 40% scout, you might give a target to this spearman and this cavalryman. However, the spearman and the cavalryman will die together with the scout if they stay here. At least in theory, they should. But it's a nice fight from our elf player, and he should get 1 unit out of this, or lose 1 and gain 2, or lose nothing and gain 2. That would be obviously optimal. Now, let's see. Okay, so there it is. Okay, there is the move on the scout. Now, the scout can go ahead and pillage and try to throw off these units from their natural course of attacking, right? So the scout can go to 1533, which would be, at this point, a decent move. Why? Because elves' units are outside of position of fighting south. He won't be able to mount a strong defense south, I feel. At the same time, he went for a wows. So wowses are inherently slow. It means his response time would be slow. Therefore, he could gain some time with this scout. Another option would be to retreat the scout on the forest and basically increase, for example, here, increase, or even on the castle, and basically increase the chances of the scouts surviving. However, this means that all these units could go relatively in eastward direction towards the enemy. So I'm not sure which one. I wouldn't have brought my scout here in the first place. However, it's an interesting play, which, I could even bring my scout here on the forest. However, if you're going to go in enemy territory, you might as well to get a village with it, because he's going to die, I feel. Or not. No, get a village, then keep running. Yeah, that's quite interesting. That's one way to stop the red attack. So interesting move here. We're going to see whether it was worth it or not. It's one particular scout, elvish scout, to follow. So he does go back and he does try to protect it. And yeah, that is 60%, and that should be enough of a defense for the time being, I feel. That was a 10 movement scout, so he does go back. Okay, so this game, I would say, is now even. Why even? Because elf does need a bit of an edge in order to be able to withstand loyalist attacks. So a bit of an edge for our elf player. At least he does not need to worry about run-bys north, so he can be relaxed and he can fully focus on this fight where he's going to need all his units. However, red, again, does not have the mage in place. He will probably try to apply some pressure, try to impress the elf, get his units really, really scary in front. But I don't think he will press. I don't think he will really press the attack. But we shall see again. Okay, he did get his units in front. It's like, look how scary I am. Look at my spearmen. It's quite scary, right? But I don't think elf should be going for it. I mean, elf does have three tiles on this spearman. However, this one is a poison spearman. I mean, basically, red is saying, look, I can't really attack into your villages. They are quite far away. I didn't plan it too well, or the number of moves was not enough to bring all my army there. You were able to see I kind of went with calves first and then with spearmen. I should have maybe went with spearmen first, but because of the map I did have to go with calves. So anyway, this attack is not going to be very strong. I also lost the unit top. It's not going to be very strong. So if you do want to fight, look, put yourself in a terrible position, get the spearmen, and then I will at least can attack you nicely. Right? I have area around your units. I have zone of control. Everything will be fine for me. I can actually mount an attack far away from your wows, far away from your leader, far away from your archers. That would be nice. I would like that. Otherwise, I'm not attacking. So it's up to you. If you insist to stay here, at least I have my spearmen in a forward position. I have some kind of a line here. So yeah, let's discuss business. It's your move, right? So this is what I feel like is going on. He went for the spearman. I don't particularly agree with this. There's always a risk, and the spearman is quite strong, so I don't agree with this attack. And that was, I don't know if that was a bit lucky or not. I would say that kills 4, losses 12. I'm a bit confused. Anyway, I'm not going to be looking at these statistics at all. Anyway, it was 1 unit lost for our loyalists, but I feel that now loyalists could really punish the elf. So, for example, this particular fighter is dead. Perhaps even use the mage. I mean, the mage on the castle. So the mage should be on high defense, right? So if he's going for damage, all out damage, right? And exchanges of units, unit exchanges, the mage should go on the castle and perhaps finish off this elvish fighter. Then this particular spearman could go forward and try to finish off this elvish fighter, or the other way around. So mage on castle, a spearman forward, then the mage goes for this elvish fighter who has more HP, and then the mage finishes off this one, and then calves finish off whatever it's left. So 3, I expect 3, actually 1, 2, then the archer, and then this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4 units. I expect 4 units to die from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loyalist units. Again, spearman, mage, and then calves finishing off the rest. And from there on, it doesn't really matter what happens because red would be able to reinforce. And however, there are these sneaky scouts, which are not that sneaky if I think about it, simply because there is a cav in place here to put some damage, and this particular spearman could even go bottom, and then the leader could come and join the army. So I don't agree with this elvish attack, but let's see what happens in Gentleman. I'm very excited about this attack. And oh, the mage actually stays back. Don't particularly agree with it, but I guess it's better to keep the mage away from the fight, and also it's a more, let's say, a more defensive stance. So this means that perhaps he did not kill as many units. However, he did kill the scout, which is always a bit, let's say, frustrating for the enemy team, because scouts are quite expensive. Scouts offer vision. You plan your attack without vision. You have to be a bit more careful. You might miss certain things and you might make mistakes, right? Now, in terms of this particular line of defense, that was especially designed so it's kind of a passive aggressive formation. It was specifically designed to stay away from the wows with the mage. However, mage on 60%. Now, this particular castle is not used, and the best defense is basically kill his units. This particular scout was not doing that much damage anyway. However, maybe my approach would have been a bit too aggressive and all in. This one is a bit more conservative. It's a valid choice as well. However, if this particular cav dies, then I don't see this mage particularly well. I don't see this spearman particularly well. So if this cav dies relatively quickly, there should be 2 units, maybe 3 dead from the red side. So I will play now single move. There is the wows. However, the wows will not do absolutely anything there. There are 2 units. It's just for, intimidating the enemy. Now, let's see what happens with this attack. It's really important. This kill is particularly important. Okay, 1 out of 4. Red is fine. Red player is fine. So that is absolutely fine. It will take a long time to kill that cav, apparently. 3 out of 4. Okay, but now he needs a 3rd unit. So you see how sturdy these cavalrymen are, how cost efficient. It really takes a lot of units. Even with Pierce, you need a lot of units to kill a resilient cavalryman, and they can basically stay anywhere on the map, and they have high mobility. So 3 archers for 1 cavalryman, and I think 2 calves can absolutely demolish an archer. So you just see how cost efficient they are. Anyway, he's going to use the wows. I fully agree with that, because he needed to make full use of all his units if he was going to attack. And he's again conservative. Both these players are conservative. He's again conservative. He's forming a line, a relatively strong line, and saying, okay, you want to attack from a poor position, at least. Let me be safe. I agree with Elv's approach more in this fight. Why? Because he got a village out of it. So I got the village out of it. This is my advantage. I'm not interested in getting the kills. I'm interested in staying in a strong position and getting the village. However, if this mage, I would say, I would even ignore this wows. Seriously, I would ignore it or not. Look, I have 3. I would go for the wows simply because if the wows is dead, it would be very difficult for Elf to sustain a fight out in the open, far away from reinforcements. So I would go for the wows. Another approach is a bit more risky. Go for the fighter and then put your spearman on 60% and kill this particular archer. So fighter and archer, 2 units, or 1 unit, the wows. It really depends. If you like to take risks like I do, I would go for the fighter and the archer. And basically, I would be relying on 60% and one of the 2 attacks of the wows to miss. It's all about risk and managing risks here, right? So, but at the same time, given how close to leveling up this cavalryman is, perhaps I could kill the wows, finish it off with the cavalryman, and then try to put my spearman here on this particular castle, and then form some sort of line this way, and basically say, okay, I'm just going to make sure I level my cav, and then I will. But they will need to expose the mage. It's a tough choice. I would personally go for the fighter and the archer, but we shall see. It's just this wows is incredibly vulnerable for the mage, so we shall see what red goes with. So he indeed goes with the fighter. And he also gets a bit of good luck. It's because he was listening to me. And yeah, that is a bit tricky. Attacking wowsers with cavs. I mean, I know that cavalrymen are supposed to be very strong against impact. We saw the resistance in the beginning. We saw it, but at the same time, if the wows does hit during the day, it still deals a lot of damage simply because it has a very high base attack damage. However, through all this, our player did not manage to kill the archer, which is unfortunate for him. And now what I would do as Elf, I would definitely kill this cavalryman, which is about to level up, and I will get access to the mage. I will try to put some damage into the mage, or depending on how quickly this cavalryman dies, I will kill the other cavalryman, and then I will have a bunch of archers that really don't care about that mage during dusk. In terms of what happens north, I believe he should go back. He should not overstretch his luck. He should go back because this particular wows is blocking passage into the rich north area. Lots of villages here. He should just go back, try to be conservative. He has shown this wows. He has shown what he can do. I don't think he should risk an attack on the cav. Although if he gets 2 out of 2, he can kill this cav. So it's really interesting. He can stay here and say, look, I'm going to regen anyway. The cav is not going to regen, so I'm just going to put some pressure. Or he can go back. Given the fact that now we have vision. We know there's nothing coming, right? But if there was a sneaky mage here, then this particular wows would be in a terrible situation. Anyway, let's see what... Oh, I shouldn't have done this. Okay, pause. That was a quick pause from my side. So he did go for the cav, and he did get a lot of return damage, right? He did get a lot of return damage, and he dealt none to the cav. Remember, the wows has 20% defense, whereas the cav has double that defense. The cav has 40% defense. So that was a bit unfortunate. and I would say placing a move. Now, in terms of what happens bottom, he went for the cav and dealt a lot of damage, which is he's going to go for it. I feel he's going to just use another archer, perhaps this one coming from the back. Although I would put a resilient or a strong, even a strong archer here to make sure I kill it. Although it's a bit difficult. Intelligent, quick, dexterous, strong. I would use the dexterous one on another cav. So I would go with the dexterous one, let's say top, and I will attack the cavalryman and I'll see what happens. And then I would take it from there. Let's see. Oh, never mind. He's going to risk it with the scout. So he's going to bring another unit into the battle because he intends to make use of 3 archers to finish off this cav. He could do this because this particular elvish archer landed most of his hits. That is a brilliant play. It's also very simple, but most brilliant things are simple, right? Light bulb, great invention. Very simple if you think about it. Wheel, also great invention. Extremely, extremely simple, but at the same time, change the world. So this particular scout is going to level up no matter what, unless there's a strong resilient spearman that is going to land 3 out of 3, which I doubt. And now it's always a question: do I go for the mage? I would say no. Just go with 3 archers on this cavalryman and kill it, and then you get access to the mage from this particular slot, and then you maximize your unit utilization. Now, okay, that's actually quite good. And he needs the final. Oh no! He did not go for it in the end. I would have used my final archer. However, he said, I do intend to keep 60% and 70% simply because I am reducing his mobility. So he always tries to keep this line, right? So both players playing really, really cautiously. So they are attacking, but at the same time, they are doing it intelligently. So this is something for all of us to learn from this particular game. You attack, but at the same time, you leave your units into a line with high defense, keeping the vulnerable units at the back, trying to save them. This sometimes is the best. Most of the, let me put it this way, probabilistically, statistically, most of the time is the preferred approach. However, sometimes you need to take risks and defend yourself by simply killing more enemy units. However, if you do go for the all-in attack, it might backfire. You might miss, you might get a lot of retaliation damage in, and then a nice looking day is going to turn pretty sour pretty quickly. Now, let's see if he lands the hit on the cav. He did. Okay, now this is looking pretty well for our elf player. All the calves, most of the calves are gone. And at the same time, again, it all comes down to, I feel, the red player not killing a lot of elf units in the beginning when he had the chance to. So he lost, I think, 1 spearman, but then he should have hit with absolutely everything he had, killed 2 or 3 elvish units, and this would have never happened. However, he took the defensive approach, which did not pay off. Anyway, let's see how it would be very interesting how our red player does damage control. There is no more units to kill, to be honest, and I would say go back, plan another attack later on. There is no point in hanging around. He will accomplish absolutely nothing unless he wants to sacrifice his units for a wows. However, I believe afternoon will be gone by the time Nanroy gets to play. So let's see. Okay, more scouts. You saw that recruit. I saw the recruit here. More scouts, which is fair enough on this map. But remember, scouts don't win you the game. You need some muscle. I would say even an archer would have added a bit more muscle to this army. But who am I to judge? Elf has played absolutely brilliantly so far. Okay, he's going for it. So he's basically saying, I am losing my fight bottom, right? I'm losing my fight bottom. I might as well take a risk top, right? It's like a betting strategy. So you bet, let's say, one pound, you lose it. Then you bet £2, you lose them. You bet £4, you keep doubling your bet. Why? Because if at one point you win, you end up winning, you get all your money back, right? So this is what he's doing. At one point, of course, you're going to run out of money. You're going to go bankrupt. You're going to lose everything. So this is the same in Wesnoth. At one point, he's going to lose all his units. However, he still has a piece with which he can bet, and he's betting on killing this wows. Now, this wows is healing, whereas the cav is not. So I don't see this. Even if he got 2 out of 2, I don't see the cavalryman winning on the long run. Right, the wows will get 30% now by going on this village, so that would be a bit even more painful for the cav. But it's a really interesting mini fight going on. Imagine a fencer. A fencer could have been able to just run by. But yeah, let's see. He is going for it. He does not care. I believe this should have been the attitude before, not now. Now it's a bit too late. When he had the chance to kill multiple units from Elf, he took a bit of a passive-aggressive approach and went for the scout here, which I don't agree with, because the scout is not a damage dealer, really. You want to kill the units that can kill you rather than kill the scouts and then have these heavy hitting archers demolish you later on. If you have a lot of cavs, you go and kill the archers first, and then scouts, who cares about them? Unless they do a run by like this one did, which was a very good investment. Nice run by. Anyway, let's see. He's going for the wows. So he's going to risk now. He's basically saying, I have nothing else to lose. I'm going to risk. I'm going to go for the wows. And that is, I think, a game-ending move. That is not how you attack Elf on high defense. He had the chance where Elf was not on high defense, was on 40%. It was day. That's when you attack Elf, during the day when they are on 40%. Now, probably I can feel a bit of frustration coming from the red player. It's understandable. We all did it. It's, risking, like I said, to win back the game. However, this is I would say, a miscalculated risk. But who am I to judge? Time will tell. And this is a glimmer of hope for our red player. He can keep pillaging this extremely rich area, perhaps go and somehow kill the wows eventually. But I believe it's too little too late. However, with more cavs coming, you should never rule out. Yeah, but you're doing these desperate moves, and at the same time you're feeding 3 units to your opponent. You should retreat and then do this run by so you can lure the units away from you, and so on and so forth. Plus, these scouts have incredible mobility, and they should be able to surround and kill this cavalryman, I feel. It does feel like at this moment red has given up on the game, to be honest. There is the move that I was telling you about, and he's not even going to kill this particular unit. He's going to let it survive. Okay, he keeps going strong on that wows. I don't agree with it. He's basically feeding the mage to the Elvish army. I'm just going to play side turn because I believe the game is already decided at this point. Doesn't really matter that much what red plays or what grey player plays for that matter. I expect the concede to come anytime soon. It was a unexpected win, to be honest, from the Elvish player. I would say that maybe due to positioning, Elvish player does have a bit of an advantage, perhaps. Although it remains to be seen. Not many games have been played on this map. It's the second game I see on this map, so it's too soon to tell. You can obviously leave comments and share your opinion and see whether player 1 or player 2 are at an advantage here. And then we can, you can actually make some proposals, like I said in the beginning, some specific proposals for changing, altering the map. Now, I don't expect anything else to happen. Obviously, I don't know what is going on, but it does seem like Elf has this particular game in the bag. He even hit versus 60%. Not sure if he was lucky or not. Again, there was some issues with my stats, the way they were displayed. So if you feel that Elf has been a bit lucky, you can let me know. There's no way for me to know at this point. Yeah, one big fight. The Elvish player took it. I was expecting his decision to backfire. Apparently, I mean, as we could see, it didn't. And I feel that it was because red player didn't take enough risks during the day. It was his power phase. He should have absolutely hit every single elf unit, or at least used every single loyalist unit to hit something, because it was his power phase. That was his chance. So sometimes leaving your units in a defensive area, it's not the best choice. Sometimes it's better to take risks. Or if you're going to play defensively, just play defensively. Wait for the next day to mount your attack. Don't leave this particular lure between the hill and the mountain to be hit from 3 sides. But if you are going to leave the lure, then make sure you follow up and absolutely wipe out most of Elvish forces. And when I mean Elvish forces, I mean archers, which are particularly vulnerable to cavalry attacks during the day. Anyway, it was an interesting game, and Elf won. I didn't expect that in the beginning. Apparently, this is how you play Elf versus Loyalist. That's the only error that I could see in Red's play. Other than that, if you guys noticed anything else, you can put them in the comments. But again, please remember, these guys really try hard, and when you are in the heat of the battle trying to plan your moves, sometimes something obvious, you don't notice it. So be kind. Props to Nanroik for keeping his cool and making some solid moves. I would have played it a bit differently myself, but you can't win them all. And remember, it's also a game of luck. It depends on your random number generator rolls. Anyway, with this being said, I hope you guys liked it, and I shall see you next time.